Welcome to the Thought Space. Today's question is, what makes you the same person over time? So we've already had a look at Locke's account on personal identity and what it really takes for us to be someone, and what would happen if we would just lose our memories tomorrow, and how they are connected in shaping our identities. Today we're going to refresh our knowledge about Locke's account a bit, and then we're just going to talk about the persistence question, which really discusses about our personal identity and what it really takes for someone to persist as the same person over a huge amount of time. So now let's just have a look at Locke's account on personal identity again. So Locke really just claimed that a person is an intelligent thinking being that has reason and reflection and can think of themselves and consider themselves as itself in different times and places. So for Locke, it's really all about memory continuity and consciousness. So it's really much about psychological continuity, but it can also cause many problems, as it implies that if you're not conscious, you're not the same person. So identity is transitive, memory is not. So we forget some memories, we lose memories, we're not always conscious, as we may be sleeping or in a coma. So Locke's account would just say that someone who's not conscious is not themselves. And if we would lose memory, we would lose parts of ourselves or not be the same person. So as you may have just, gathered now, it just can apply many problems, and it's not really, really realistic to our physical realm that we really live in right now. Let's just go on to the persistence question. The persistence question asks, if a person A that exists at one time and a person B that exists at another time, under what circumstances would it be possible that A is B? So what does it really take for a past or future person to be someone, or just to continue existing as a person over time? Trying to answer that question, there's again the memory criterion. So it really says that if a person A existing at one time is a person B, if and only if A can at the first time remember an experience person B had at the second time, or vice versa. But it also says that if a person A can remember existing as a non-person B, they would still be the same person existing at the same time. So as it's now getting a bit complicated, a view of person essentialism states that both questions are equivalent, and it really claims that it doesn't really matter which way we would turn these cases around or which way you would remember being someone. Person essentialism states that a person cannot exist without being a person. So everyone is a person essentially. Coming back to John Locke's account of personhood, it's getting really controversial here, as John Locke really says that we cannot be an embryo, or it would just, his account would just justify and say that we would have never been an embryo, or an embryo cannot be a person, as it does not really have mental properties, and a person in a vegetative state is not rationally a person, as they are not conscious. So it's getting really controversial here, if that really can just, adjust to our reality. But I would just say that an embryo is not a person, we would have never been one, and that person in a vegetative state is not a person. So here it's getting really controversial, and it's really contested if this view is in any way really realistic to our reality or not. Okay, so now that we've talked about that, let's just go on to persistence. So what are possible accounts for our persistence over time? So two of them are really connected to one another. They are both claiming that our persistence and the accounts are in some kind of relation. So the first one is psychological continuity, and the second one is viewed physical views. One says that our psychological richness is bound to our persistence, and the second one says that our physical resemblance, our physical body, is bound to our persistence. So the one says, okay, it's really about our mental properties here, and they are connected to our memory, to our consciousness. And the second one really says it's also bound to our physical appearance, as we may share the same body with our past and future selves, and we are just the same biological organisms in this one lifetime. So we share it, and it's really a sign of our persistence over time. But there's also another view on this point. It's called anti-criterialism, and it says that maybe our psychological and physical relations to persistence may be an evidence for our persistence over time, but they are not needed, and they are not always guaranteed to really be an evidence for it. So now we've talked about personal identity, personhood, the persistence question and its difficulties, evidence for our persistence, and now I would like to talk about a very interesting topic. It's a thinking experiment, and it's from the Encyclopedia of Philosophy of Stanford. So this is always my thoughts, and I just wanted to tell you that it's not my original idea, but I would just like to share that experiment with you, as it's really interesting. And yeah, it really shows that the persistence question is way more complex than we might think it is. A young student, a young woman that is being fined for overdue books at the library, and she gives them back and everything goes well, and becomes a lawyer one day. When she's a lawyer, she can remember being fined for the books and giving them back and paying the fine. But when she grows older and is an elderly woman, she cannot remember being fined at all, but she can remember being a lawyer back then. So she has not only forgotten paying that fine, but she has also lost all her memories about her youth and that time back then. So according to the memory criterion now, it would say that the student is the lawyer is the elderly woman, but the elderly woman is not the student, as she cannot remember ever paying that fine or being a student. So we're getting an impossible result here, as the criterion says that if A and B are 1 and B and C are 1, A and C cannot result in 2. But we could also on the other hand say that the elderly woman is the student, as she remembers being the lawyer, and the lawyer remembers being the student. But it's more about quasi-memory, which is memory without identity requirement. Another really interesting insight would be the view of Shoemaker, who says that it's all about psychological connectedness and psychological continuity. Talking about my perspective now, I would say that Locke's account does not always remain true at all times. And I would also state that identity is transitive, and that we're always changing, growing and developing, and that our characters are really living from the richness of development, from change. So maybe one might be not the same person they were 2 minutes ago. So claiming what an identity is would be nearly impossible in my point of view. But another interesting question would be if we really have free will. So if you're interested in that, just look at my next video, and I would say I see you there.